Okay, this video is going to deal with decimal format, the decimal format class. So you can be looking at your notes at the same time as you're watching this, and we'll give you some things to fill in the blanks as I do the demo, so I'll go faster. So the first thing, first of all, a decimal format is used for the following. Just looking here at the memory location num1, you can see how you have a decimal that has a lot of decimals in it. And so I call that an ugly decimal. So if I were to actually run this, it prints out an ugly decimal. And so what we want to do is we want to use the decimal format class to actually to format decimals that deal with the output of the program. And so what you'll see here is that it doesn't matter that this ugly decimal is in the computer memory in some memory location. That is not an issue. But it's when we want to print it that we don't want it to be ugly. And so we're going to use the decimal format class to format decimals in the output of the program. So that's the first blank on your notes. The second thing that you want to know is that you have an import statement that goes above the class header, just like the scanner class one did. It's the same idea. And so this is your import statement, so you should write that down in your notes. You have that as a reference. Import java.text.decimalFormat semicolon. So that's going to be important. The next thing that you're going to have, just like our input situations, let's see if this shows it. If you remember back in your input, using the scanner class, we had that import statement, but we also declared the scanner object. Scanner scan equals new scanner system.in. Okay, well, in the same way, this is going to do the same idea. So instead of scanner, it's going to say decimal format. And instead of scan, we're going to name our object, our decimal format object, df, because of the initials df for decimal format. And then you still have new, just like scanner class did. And then instead of scanner, of course, we'll say decimal format. Now what's important is what's in these parentheses. The parentheses for the decimal format need to have quotes like a literal string. So you got to make sure that you have quotes like a literal string in there. And then also, this is going to help you format an ugly decimal. Now, if you want a $sign attached to the beginning of the decimal, then you would add the $sign inside these quotation marks. Then this number symbol just refers to, you could have any number of numbers before the decimal point. Now, this right here is very important because there's 2 zeros after the decimal point. That means that you're going to clean up your decimal to only go to 2 decimal places, which is appropriate when you're dealing with money. But maybe you're not doing money. Maybe you only want to go to the nearest tenth. Then you would go $sign, or you could just go number symbol, dot, and then 1 0. If you had 4 zeros, that means your display on the output is going to have 4 decimal places. And so that's the scanner object. So that's declaring the decimal format object. Now I'm going to run this really quick here, and so you can see what's going on. So if we go compile it and then run it, then you see how here it prints the ugly decimal, which is right here. But then when it's applied to it, it actually takes it down to 2 decimal places and adds the $sign. And so how does that happen? Well, on your notes where it says apply decimal format, it gives you the ugly decimal num1, just like this one does. And it's going to say, let's say that that refers to the cost of your meal some way. So it's going to go your meal, and then after the concatenation operator, you're going to put df.format. Now, obviously the DF comes from the name of the decimal format object. So if you named this Ralph, it would, if you said decimal format Ralph is assigned new decimal format, you would go Ralph.format. That's just simply the name of it. You could have more than one decimal format object in a class or in a program, and so you could, in order to do that, you have to give them different names. Now then what goes inside these parentheses is the memory location that has the ugly decimal. So it'll apply this format to the ugly decimal in num1. And then as you can see, what it produces is it produces a nice decimal for the output that makes it better to read and is also just more appropriate. Right? So that's the application of the decimal format. Okay, the final thing that you should do is you should in the, I don't know if it's in there, in the, either in the class activities link or in the module, there is a Java file called autorepaircost.java. So you need to open that up and do a save as. And then the idea, what we need to do here is just to see what this program does, is it's going to ask the user for how many hours did it take to fix their car. So let's say it took 7 hours, and then or it could be 7.5 or 7.2 because it's set up as a double. And then down here it asks, well, enter the cost. So let's say it cost $400. So what we want it to do, or what we're doing is we're also having the calculator, the program calculate the cost per hour to fix. So it's going to cost to fix divided by hours to fix. So 400 divided by 7, and it will come up with a certain value. Now, because these are doubles and it's being stored in a double, then you are going to have very potentially an ugly decimal. So in this case, this ugly decimal would be 57.1428571. That's ugly. But we want it to be displayed as a dollar amount. And so what your job is to do is to apply the decimal format using your notes. So just really quick here, what you're going to need is you're going to need to add an import statement. And don't delete anything, but you need to add an import statement. You need to add the decimal format object in here somewhere. And then down here, it's already set up to print the ugly decimal. So it's going to print the ugly decimal. So you don't have to do anything with that. So, so let's go back up here. So you have to go 1, you're going to do the import statement. 2, you're going to do the decimal format, or the decimal format object. And then 3 is you're going to then in here, now see here you printed the cost with the ugly decimal. Now I need you to apply the decimal format class like we did in our notes to make it so it prints a nice cost of per hour. So it prints with a $ sign in 2 decimal places. Then, of course, this already has the print state, or this is a blank line, so you don't have to worry about that. Then you want to write code in here. So this is the third thing you got to do. The fourth thing to do is to add your code in here and make it so that if you, as the user, type 7.5 and 4452.44, it would print the following statement. So you want to use your concatenation, which we know how to do, to have it say, make it say it will print $60.33 to repair your vehicle. All right, so that's what you need to do for this particular exercise.